Let me just refresh your memories, viewer, even though it just happened over the weekend, about what those big G20 wins really were for India. What is being celebrated? Why is this such a big deal? Number one, global consensus in the Delhi Declaration has never happened before on such contentious issues like the Ukraine war, on debt restructuring, on refinancing the world, the global south and climate change. Number two, major global powers towing India's line on Ukraine and the contentious issue of climate, in which China, after the Bali Declaration last year at the G20, had actually retracted. Number three, China has failed to derail India's flagship agenda. China tried its best. They didn't send their president, but nothing happened. India still succeeded. Number four, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, which by many accounts is actually the biggest takeaway from what has happened at the G20, because this is an enormous, far-reaching trade route that India is going to create with the help of the United States, UAE, several other countries, and the European Union, and is going to be a game changer that competes with China. India gets the African Union on board the G20 during its presidency. There is no underplaying or underestimating the significance of that one move that India has made possible. Number six, India has emerged as a champion of developing nations, a representative of the global south, putting the spotlight on the global south and leadership, and urging more reforms in multilateral fora like the United Nations Security Council. India's rise as a global power, the global spotlight also on Indian culture, which can never be underplayed. We saw it through Nalanda, the Konarak Chakra, and elsewhere. I wanted to play for you, before we wait for the Prime Minister to arrive at the BJP headquarters so I can take you there live in a moment. Here's an excerpt of an exclusive conversation, the first interview that External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar gave to India Today's Rahul Kanwal, where he spoke in great detail about how Prime Minister Modi played a huge personal role in ensuring a successful G20. Listen in.
What was happening in the real world, if you would, was also that at various levels, the Sherpa and the Sherpa's team were talking. I was talking to my counterparts. At certain points of play where required, Prime Minister himself came in. So we also knew that, in many ways, a lot of countries were invested in the G20. They were invested in the presidency of the G20, in the current presidency of the G20. And that gave me a lot of confidence that, look, at the end of the day, there would be a desire on everybody's part. There were still issues which needed to be resolved. And in some cases, I had to ask him, saying, it'd be good if you could speak to your counterpart. And
he did that?
Yes, he did that. I mean, I can put it both ways. I think the declaration also happened because his stature had gone up. Yeah. When he sort of brought up the issue with some of his counterparts, the fact that this was Prime Minister Modi himself bringing up the issue, I think definitely had an impact on his counterpart. So to the extent that we actually got the G20 to focus on the global south, to look at today's world and its problems in a particular way, I would say that in itself was one achievement. And there are other issues. I mean, there are fundamental issues about the inequity of the current global order. So here is India. You have an east-west issue, you have a north-south issue. So it was also in some ways a test of our ability to forge a consensus, to find a common landing point. And then it was for ourselves, you could say, a self-imposed or a self-set way of testing ourselves, that today, in the past we've always done any gathering in a very kind of sarkari, bureaucratic way. Can we do it differently? Can we take it out to the rest of the country? Can we link it to what is happening in societies? Can we make people feel that, yes, this is an event or a responsibility in which I too have some connection? And I think in terms therefore of the agenda, in terms of the bridge building, in terms of the manner in which it was done, I think each one of them was a significant step forward to us. So certainly to me, Indian foreign policy or Indian diplomacy post G20 looks, I mean, I would say there are good reasons to be satisfied with it. I've been doing G20s, barring one when I was not in the government, since Antalya in 2015. And I would say in all honesty, this is not a self-serving statement. This has been the most substantive G20. Just look, I mean, forget the verbiage, all the excitement about it. Today, we have actually brought the globe, the focus on Global South, very badly needed. We have today shown the spotlight on the fact that sustainable development goals have fallen behind, and we need an action plan to do. We have actually highlighted the need for a green development pact, and that you need, there's no point talking about sustainability and the environment if you're not prepared to resource it. Now, to resource it, we've also pushed for a reform of the multilateral development banks. And the idea, and again, this G20, I think, was very, very powerful in terms of highlighting the digital public infrastructure. And, in many ways, you spoke about the chatter. I would say the maximum chatter there was actually about Chandrayaan.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it came up in almost...
Give an extra spring to your step?
I think it gave an extra spring to the entire nation's step. Look, in some way, almost every leader in their remarks, in their interactions, it's had a huge kind of, I would say, their mind space today. It's really kind of pinged that radar.
And the timing was perfect.
Well, we were fortunate.
India's #1 political reporter.
Defines what seems to be happening, vendetta politics. कोई दूध के से धुला हुआ नहीं है.
Unmatched eye, unmatched experience.
The world has changed. My black hair has become grey as well.
And with unmatched passion for the story.
Do not monopolize the conversation.
When it's 100% news that matters. It's News Today with Rajdeep Sardesai. Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. Only on India Today TV. India's #1 political reporter.
Defines what seems to be happening, vendetta politics. कोई दूध के से धुला हुआ नहीं है.
Unmatched eye, unmatched experience.
The world has changed. My black hair has become grey as well.
And with unmatched passion for the story.
Do not monopolize the conversation.
When it's 100% news that matters. It's News Today with Rajdeep Sardesai. Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. Only on India Today TV.